Hey guys, welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday, the show where we talk about whatever is on your mind, the issues, the reasons, the problems, the other people around you and all the problems they cause you, and then yourself and your own problems you cause yourself. You know, this is the show where we talk about you guys and all your failures. But luckily for you, we're here to solve it because we're way better than you. No, but in actuality, this is the show where we try to be a friend and and help you out on your way. You might notice a few things are a little bit different than normal. We've got different animations for myself. Some that are a little bit more kawaii, a little bit. We're trying something new out. We're trying to get a little bit more of this anime feel because we realize that a lot of you guys are from, the anime crowd. So we're doing our best to offer the best. But anyhow, how you guys doing? How you doing, Joe?
I'm outstanding. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm sorry, there's a little bit of lag on my end, it looks like, from the audio and the visual, but either way, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's how those rig things work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where they turn you into an anime girl or whatever. Those are really cool, and that's what I'm using right now. This one's very realistic. I might change it, but yeah. This fan service.
Wow.
Excuse me?
We
I'm a
did that.
man?
We did that. Wow, look at that. Wow, that is amazing. He does look different.
Looks different.
His hair is shorter.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you say that because it's actually true, even though I'm normally a guy usually it's swapped there. But yeah, my hair is shorter today. But it is far more fabulous. My face is far more beautiful.
I would agree.
This is my chance to say anything nice I could possibly say, and this beautiful person, or I mean human being on the screen, me, can't argue with it. So yeah, this is my chance to say, I am absolutely beautiful, adorable, cute. The cringe.
You're a touch more feminine looking.
That's because of the voice.
Oh,
If
the
I
voice
didn't have such a
makes you
manly
look more
voice, I wouldn't.
feminine.
Yes, it's the
It's
voice
the
that makes me
sound.
look
The
female.
sound of my voice makes me look feminine.
Yes.
I see.
My voice is so masculine, the rest of my body can't compare, so it just turns everything else to look slightly effeminate.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
gonna go with that one. Same.
Welcome.
Jay always says it's the same for him. He gets it. No, he's the same about something else. I'm afraid. Honestly, yes. Just no, like you're right. I'm not so different. This is pretty good representation of me.
What bet did Ryan lose?
What? I can't breathe. I'm sorry, Amira.
Oh my. Wow. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So what do you
All
think,
right.
guys? This is fun times.
Yeah. All right. So all right. So you can talk now, princess.
Hello.
This is Princess.
Hi. Kawaii no desu.
Yeah, it's morphed princess.
Yes.
Cosplay version. Nice. All right. Well, thank you for being our opening act for the show.
Thank you for having me.
Beautiful bow. And yeah.
I will leave you to the actual show now.
I appreciate it. You're awesome. Thanks for playing along.
Much love, everyone.
Bye-bye. Could you do another switch for us, Joe?
Got to do a switch thing.
Yes.
How about that?
There we go. Welcome. Thanks for playing along, Princess. That was funny. I love you. You're awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yep. So now those of you who have been on the Twitch streams, you have heard Princess's voice. Now
but you've never seen her in cosplay.
You see the face that voice comes out of.
Yeah.
Always fun.
It's always fun to see a face that the voice comes out of. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, welcome. I already did the opening for the show, so you guys know what this is. We aren't professional, I guess, in many things, but one of them is psychologists. Another one would be psychiatrists or police officers or accountants, or I'm just naming professions that are well regarded. Slightly creepy. Fair enough, Jeff. Doctors, but we can be here to be your friend, and hopefully we can talk today about whatever the issues are that are going on in your life. Now we're actually boiling down to only having a few topics left in our I don't know, backlog. So if you guys have anything on your mind, feel free to share it. You can share it either here, right in the chat. You can send us an email if you want to be anonymous at bss or dww@bss.studio, or go to bss.studio and write up a topic in the Don't Worry Wednesday section. Princess has kindly shared the links for you, so there you are. But yeah. Oh yeah, the shirt I had on previously was cooler. It was definitely cooler. I would agree with that. The blue shirt was sweet. But yeah. So how you doing, Joe?
I'm great.
Awesome.
How are you? I'm actually still myself. This whole
Fantastic.
time.
Good.
This whole time on this show, I've been myself.
I'm glad. I would never want you to be anyone else.
Yeah, what will happen next time? Will Joe change? Will we see another member of the community? Yes.
Stay tuned and continue.
Because you never know. Jesse's
Yeah.
doing some crazy stuff with our setup and our layout too. He's like, I want to change stuff around and make it all different and everything. And we're like, whoa, man, careful. Careful with the differenceness.
We will fire you. Go for it. No. Okay. We never.
I'm a Subway sandwich.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like, you know, you can get a hoagie, you can get a Joe, whatever. Joe Star. Yep.
I'm having trouble understanding what that means. I'm wondering, eat flesh. What? Oh my! That's the zombie apocalypse Subway.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that'd be eat brains.
I was just talking about this. I was just talking about zombie apocalypse with Mark Fang, aka Senna's boyfriend, Barrow. And I figured out that if we ever have a zombie apocalypse, we'll just ask a vampire to bite one of the zombies. And then when it gets daylight out, the zombie will just die because it burns in the sunlight. So all we need is one vampire to bite one zombie, and that zombie to become a vampire to bite the other zombies. But they're not smart enough to go hide when it comes daylight because they have no brains. At least not very functioning ones. So one zombie will infect all the other zombies. It only takes one vampire to end the zombie apocalypse. So, boom.
But vampires don't exist. Zombies do.
What? No. If zombies exist, vampires do too.
Oh, really? And werewolves?
No.
Not
That's
werewolves?
Stupid. No.
Come on.
This is.
Man, I'm striking out like crazy on the mythological.
This isn't Twilight. Because the Twilight vampires don't burn in the sunlight; they sparkle. Yes. We don't need sparkling zombies, okay? We don't need sparkling zombies.
What if a werewolf gets involved? What happens?
Well, if a werewolf gets involved, then when nighttime comes, they turn into dog zombies, zomdoggies, and they when the night
what
comes,
happens with a
when it comes day, then they sparkle, and they're sparkling zomdoggos.
If you have a zombie werewolf that gets bit by a vampire, what happens?
You've got quite a creature. Because at night he's like, "Ow, brains, ow, brains," and then it comes daylight and they die. So
no,
it's
they
fine.
Sparkle because it's Twilight version.
Yeah, darn it, they sparkle. You got sparkling zombies. What the heck is this? They need to add They need to just make a new version of Twilight, but they're zombies. And so there can be sparkling zombies.
Wow.
Brilliant. All right, let's actually start the show now.
Hello, welcome. Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce your name. So Sapira?
Maybe? Yeah, Sopira? Probably.
Sopira, something. Welcome.
Probably.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. They were here, I think, last time, right? At least for a short bit. If not, it was 2 times ago. But they were here. Okay, so, yeah. Enjoy your game when you go play. But yeah, hope you have fun with us. So Sopira. There it is. Sweet.
Cool. We do have a topic from Amira.
There we do. We also have one from I'm gonna go through the list actually. If you hear your name called, feel free to drop a yo what up in the chat. We will yo what up with your dumb butt in the chat. And we'll do our best to cover it. So we got Sumner Kagan, John Doe, Man Left Behind, Eric Bodine, Caffrey, Mark Anthony, Akil, and Amira.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess that pretty much Amira is the only one here right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and start clicking on that one. And we're going to do this.
This is interesting. You remember when we did this show in the beginning and all we were taking were topics in the chat that were going on while, the chat was going on. We're kind of getting to that stage again because our topic list is short. So now it's going to be like, hey, we come on the show, we talk about zombies and sparkly vampires until somebody says something in the chat, and then we have something
that, absolutely. And I think that's what we're going back to because we do this so many times a week now. We do it 3 times a week for you guys. So we've finally been able to get down on these topics. We have a backlog from like years. Okay, maybe not that long, but still, our backlog's almost gone. And so we are actually going to need you guys to come forth with anything you want to talk about.
Maybe.
Anything.
I'll tell you this though. Ryan and I can talk about just about anything for a couple hours.
Yeah, that's true.
We totally can.
You put us on a phone together, and we'll talk about anything for hours.
Yep. So it could just be like random topics until you guys come up with something. But
Snowlock Holmes got something.
We come up with something good.
Oh, Anonymous has some. All right. Well, sweet. Let's do it then. Throw it down in the chat, and we'll have a fun time with it.
I'll create a crisis for myself.
Okay, yeah, please do create a crisis.
I'm good at creating crises for myself as well.
I think most of us are. That's how we get into these places. We're like, please help me. I'm suffering. What happened? I did this to me. Help. Oh, you did? Why did you do that? I didn't know better. And now I'm stuck.
Yep. Yeah, and it's interesting. The advice I always got in those situations was, well, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I know. What kind of advice is that?
Okay, I agree that I should not have done that.
You are right.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But now that I'm here, what should I do to get out? That's the question. It's like, well, you shouldn't have gotten there in the first place. Thank you.
You are really helpful. Thank you. I should come to you with all my problems. You'll tell me what I did wrong. After I asked you about after I tell you what I did wrong, you'll tell me what I did wrong. And I just appreciate that so much. All right, let's do this. So this is from Amira. Thanks, guys, for waiting for us while we settle down. So we're actually going to switch it up today. And instead of having me read, our lovely co-host, if you will, Princess is going to read the topics for me. Because, well, first of all, she wrote this one. And second of all, it's cool to have someone else read it. That way me and Joe can kind of process while we listen. And it kind of creates a little bit of a variation between the speakers and the actual topic itself. Makes it a little bit more identifiable when the topic starts and stops and all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to do it. We're going to do it the first time right here, right now. So this one's from Amira.
And we always got to try new things, because if you don't try new things, you get all stagnant. We've been doing the same things for a couple of years now. You know, it's time to
we really
time
have.
to shake the bag a little bit. You know,
Yeah, you're
like,
right. You're right. It is time to shake a bag. It's time to get excite the bag, excite the things, the objects in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
You got to shake it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So let's shake it off right now.
Shake it.
And have a shakedown.
Shake it. Shake it.
This one's from Amira. It's titled "Contentment Feels Wrong." Take it away, princess.
Why does being content feel so wrong? Nothing is wrong. I don't feel guilty, sadness, pain, or anger. This isn't normal for me, and I feel like something is going to blow up in my face. From Amira.
Yeah, short and sweet. I like that. You know, it is interesting. Contentment, and to be content rather, is a interesting feeling. And sometimes when things have been wrong for so long, and then finally things aren't that wrong, it feels weird and it feels wrong. So I get it. I've been in a position where like I was fine for so long. I was just like, God, send something wrong to me so that, you know, I have at least a chance to grow. Like that's what I'm here to do, right? You know, I've been in that position, but then I've also been on the opposite side where, you know, I've learned to just accept that, hey, you know, everything's fine right now. I'll accept it. This is great. Let's take it. But yeah, Joe, have you ever had any experience with this?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I generally feel the same way. You know, maybe not in moments of contentment, because um after you go through a whole bunch of ups and downs and you kind of start to ride that roller coaster a while, you learn to be more content when things are painful, and also when things are really good too. I I've learned better to be content when times are difficult than when times are great. Like when times are great, I have a hard time not getting excited. Like Jesse experienced this. We were dealing with some technical stuff over the weekend, you know, and like we were working on stuff for a couple hours, and then it was finally starting to come together, and I was getting all excited, you know. I'm like, hey, this is so cool. And he looks at me and he's like, you're like really excited. And I'm like, I am, man. This is super cool, you know. So when things are going good, I have a hard time keeping a lid on it. Basically, you know, anybody who's been around me for any period of time knows that, you know, I can get pretty excited and enthusiastic,
Which is good.
Yeah, it's fun. But at the same time, when I'm in that mode, though, I kind of start looking towards the future. I'm like, I know enough to know that this will pass, and it will become a downward trend again at some point. You know, I know this is going to happen. So, but I definitely know the feeling of, you know, hey, nothing's wrong. I better brace myself because something's about to happen. You know,
yeah, like that calm before the storm.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're thinking here. So, I mean, I don't, you know, it's tough to come up with some advice. I mean, other than I know how you feel, and it took me a lot of working with my own emotions and noticing my own emotions in order to kind of even that out, especially when things are low, to bring myself to contentment during those really difficult times. Um, and I'll tell you, you are on the right track, Amira, because you're noticing your emotions here. You're noticing things that happen. What you've done here is you've taken a step outside of yourself, and you're analyzing yourself and your reactions in the situation you're in. So, and that's something that we as humans can do. Animals cannot do this, at least not to our knowledge, right? They respond to the world around them. They can't like think analytically about themselves. and question, well, why do I do this? They're basically instinct and, environment and response and, stuff like that. Whereas we as humans, we can choose our responses. We can, something can happen to us and we can decide, all right, yeah, this really stinks. How do I want to respond? Now, a lot of times we get caught up into our own emotional response. We will just, it might be a habit. It might be conditioned. There might be some kind of a response to something that's just, it feels natural. But those responses can be changed. They can be adjusted. And it takes time and it takes practice. And it takes exactly what you're doing here, which is noticing what your feelings are. Right now you're saying you feel content, but you're like, it feels like it could be wrong to feel content. This inner dialogue that you're having, this is very useful, because using this, you're going to be able to modify your responses over time. So I have to say, Amira, I'm impressed. I think that's really cool that you're able to do that. I know a lot of people who tend to not utilize this ability that they have. They kind of act like they're animals. They just respond. And we all do this to some degree. We all, from time to time, a lot of time, especially if things catch us off guard, we just respond. It's like, it can be like that. So, but when you can take a step outside yourself, you analyze your own emotions, you analyze your feelings, and you make a choice. And here it looks like you're trying to decide, should I feel content, or should I be getting myself ready for a storm, or should I be, and these are wonderful questions to be asking yourself. So what you can do, though, is, this is one of the things I've learned to do. I try to always be prepared for something negative that could happen. I've played the game. You've heard me talk about the game that I play with myself, where it's like, okay, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? I ask myself these questions, right? I ask, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen right now? And then, okay, well, what would I do if that happened? And then I come up with a plan. And then from there, I'm like, okay, now I have a plan for the worst thing that possibly could happen. However, I was not prepared for a global pandemic. That one was way far off my radar screen. But, it happened, and we make adjustments, and we just try to do the best we can. Try and find the bright spots in anything. Try and find, is everything that comes your way is going to have positive and negative in it. Even if all it feels like is negative, there's going to be something positive in there baked into that negative experience. So one of the things you can do as you're looking forward to, okay, something bad probably is going to happen. Even if something bad happens, you can rest assured that there will be something good that's baked in with it. And you can find that good thing. It just takes a little bit of practice, takes a little bit of looking at it. We're so quick to label things as bad or good. We assign labels based on our experiences. But if you take the label away and it's just an experience, Ryan has helped me so much to do this. He's just like, hey, take the label off it. It's neither bad nor good. It's just an experience. Now you can actually start to think about it. Oh, how can I use this experience to grow? How can I use this experience to help someone else? How can I use this experience to become a better person? And through that, you start to realize, it doesn't matter what comes my way, because I'm going to find a use for it no matter what. Now, I think Ryan is much farther along this path than I am. He is so good at maintaining his even keel, cool as a cucumberness. So I'm going to turn it over to him and see what he has to say.
Thanks, Joe. And yeah, no, I really appreciate the note that you ended on with anything bad that comes your way. It is important to recognize that it's not necessarily bad. We're just quick to label it that way. I think it's really important to just remember you can make good of whatever comes.
Oh, did you see some of Amira's?
Yeah, I was about to go over that.
Cool.
So you said, Amira, that you said, normally I hate my life, and I just learned to accept nothing will ever go right for me. But lately, my life has been decent. Usually when things are fine, I get punished for it later. And, you know, that's kind of an interesting statement. I think part of that is part of the reason you're content. When you come to accept that nothing will go right for you, right? Then, I mean, we talked about this. I don't know if it was last stream or a few streams ago now. It's hard to remember when we actually have this multiple times a week now. But we talked about this recently. And I think it was with Wandering Soul. When you are a child, you are programmed, you are naturally an animal in the way that you think. Joe was just talking about this. You have desires for things. And when things don't go your way, you get upset, you cry, you know, that's very normal. That's what a child does. When it doesn't get its way, it breaks down. It says, I want that, I want it, right? When you start to go to the point where you're like, I don't really need all of this stuff, your mind can let go and it has freedom. When your mind isn't going, oh, I need this, I need that, I need this. Like, instead, you're just like, I've come to accept I have what I have. Now, suddenly, you no longer feel that feeling of like, nothing's going right for me. Why? Because before, you wanted all of these things to go right. Now you're just like, they're not going to go right. So you've accepted that. So now you don't care if they go right, which means you aren't feeling like nothing's going wrong. You aren't feeling like things are going right necessarily, but you aren't feeling like things are going wrong either because you don't have that desire. That's actually one of the reasons they speak about in the Bible and in wisdom in general, just letting go of all of those earthly desires. Because the more you cling to them, the more you find out that they're holding you back. They weigh you down. They keep you from freedom. They keep you from peace. And that's so interesting because we are trained as human beings that we're like the material creatures, right? We use tools. We make tools and then we use tools, right? Like including this computer, including what we're conversing on right now. We are material beings and we're made of flesh. We're made of material, right? We have desires, we have needs, especially with food and so on, right? And these aren't bad things. These aren't evil things. These are good. But when we have an expectation or when we have a desire and we don't get it, and that results in us feeling bad, that is a place where we can improve. So if we just let go of all of it, we were like, okay, well, I don't really care anymore. Then it becomes easy because now we're not dealing with that desire. We're not fighting that desire to have, right? So it is kind of interesting the way that works. I remember people being like, they say, don't expect much because it'll only lead to resentment, only lead to like, you know, that sort of thing. There's a phrase and I cannot remember it for the life of me right now, but it basically is something along the lines of it's basically lower your expectations. Don't have high expectations for anything because you'll only end up feeling bad later. And I want to say that saying has a little bit of wisdom in there, but it is wrong. It's more so the issue of not being able to accept the reality when things aren't to your expectation. Because those are two different things. To expect good things is a good thing. It is good to expect good things. It is good to have hope, right? That is the generation, that is what creates all things, hope. So it's good to expect the best, right? But to break down, to be angry, to get upset when it doesn't go our way, that's a whole different issue. But they are linked. And I think that when we just accept reality, like, oh, it is what it is, it's just not going to go right for me most of the time. Yeah. And that's okay, because you're still alive and you're still moving forward one step at a time. And slowly over time, things work out and you go, wow, how did I end up here? This is all right. And I think that's how you are right now, Amir. You're kind of in this place where you're like, how did I end up here? You know, nothing went right for me, but now I'm here and it's kind of okay. Something's wrong. Like there's something bad's about to happen, I'm sure. And I think I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you ended up where you are right now. It's really cool. So I think that you're on the right path. And so everything I just said is basically to prepare you for the future and to remind you to stay on the track that you are right now. And that is just accepting reality and being like, I have what I have and that's okay. I can have desires and I can go like, you know, man, I want to go this way with my life. I want to go this way with my life. And understand that what we plan a lot of times doesn't work out. But if you can be like Cole from Life Might Take Us and just say, I get excited when my plans don't work out.
When my pants don't work out.
When my pants don't work out. Like when
these
they
are
just
not my pants.
These are not my pants. These are my pants. Double thick. Okay, so that's an old thing. You guys
it's
might
on this
not know
channel.
about. Technically speaking, it is.
It is.
They might not be able to view it. Anyways, you said a little bit more I also wanted to talk on. But what was it? Okay. You said, am I just being paranoid? I think Princess had a good follow-up to that. It could be a little bit of paranoia because, like you said, usually when things are going all right, all of a sudden something hits the fan, right? It's terrible. And it could be a little bit paranoia, but I would say if it is, that's okay. That's normal. Instead, just be like, if it's paranoia, just whatever. Let's hope for good. Let's hope for good regardless. Even if something does go bad, which it will. Let's just aim for great. Let's have a good attitude going forward, right? Because that's all you can really do. You can only control your attitude. A lot of times the events you don't get to pick. The events that transpire in your life, they're things a lot of times that happen to you. You don't have control over it. You were aiming for something and then just something didn't work out, whatever, and then you have to deal with it. But the one thing you can control is your attitude. And I think that if you can get a grasp on that, then you're fine, right? And I think that you're already doing that. So keep moving with that. But yeah, I see you've left a couple more comments. I'm gonna let Joe, if he wants to speak on some.
Yeah, your most recent comments here, Amira. One says, I also feel like I'm wanting too much. Yeah, I'm content right now, but my life feels empty at the same time, and I want more for it. Is that weird? And I don't think that's weird at all.
No, that's good.
That's a great place to be in. I think personally, if you look at it if you look at it with a proper perspective. Now, we can always look at something different ways, and the way we look at it is going to color our experience of it, right? So, but if you're feeling content right now and you feel empty, to me, when I think of that, I think of like, all right, I'm like a kid and I have all the blocks in front of me,
A through Z,
and I can just start building. And maybe this is the time, see, because I've been building and building and building blocks, and then all of a sudden someone comes over and knocks it all over. And I'm, well, okay, I still got my blocks. I can start building them again. Boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, start building them again. And then all of a sudden, maybe I sneeze and then they all fall down again. And then, okay, well, I can start building again. So, so you want more for your life. That's great. I have this experience. I talked about this morning on Double Cup of Joe show. But I sent out a text. I found a BSS compound that I think we ought to buy at some point. Like this big property with, it's got like this main house and like 7 cottages and stuff on there. It'd be like the perfect place
I have
for us.
12 rooms or something.
It's got 41 bedrooms.
Yeah, that's how it was. Yeah, 47 bedrooms.
22 bathrooms, something like that. So it'd be perfect to have like lots of people, right? Like we could all gather, and it's on Lake Michigan, so it's like it's got beach front. If you've seen the video Sail On my channel, the footage there comes from that area where this property is. Like that's where this property is, like in that area, right? Those beaches are all like that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful in the summer. In the winter, it's got its own version of beauty. It's cold and snowy and icy and everything, but still beautiful. But anyway, so I sent this to everybody at BSS, like all the staff members, and I'm like, we need to figure out how to get this. This would be great, you know, but I mean, at the same time, I'm content with where we are because I feel like we're in a really good spot as a company. I feel like I'm in a really good spot, you know, even though I could look at my life from one direction and I could be like, that stinks. Totally stinks. I can look at my life from another perspective and I'd be like, hey, we got a lot of good stuff happening. This is pretty cool. I can look at my life from another perspective and I can be just content. Be like, you know what? There's good and there's bad. It's a great mixture of everything. I have a life. I have friends. I have people. I have family. You know, we have social distancing, which is wonderful.
I don't mind it.
But I still have desires for wanting more. I still want to, you know, I was thinking about this last night, right before I was going to bed. I'm like, okay, so we want to release a new album here the next couple months. And then I'm like sitting there thinking, okay, so I want to get to the point where we can release a new album every month. How many groups release an album every month? Not very many. Like you hear about record contracts, right? They're like, okay, we're gonna do like a 9 album contract over the course of 12 years or something like that, right? And it's like, man,
wow,
I had a 9 album contract, be 9 months.
over and out. See you later, guys.
But you know, I was just thinking about that, like, okay, how do we get there? I want to be there. You know, nothing against where I am now, but I still have a vision for a better future. And I think that's a great thing to do. But also, when you remind yourself to be content in the now with whatever your circumstances are, even if you're growing, even if you start building and growing towards your goals and your dreams, and then something happens and it all goes down and falls apart and you got to start all over again, you can remember that contentment. And you can be like, huh, okay, that happened. Big deal. Let's try again. And then the next thing you said on here, Miro, is the last time I was happy and felt like it was all right with the world was almost 2 years ago. I don't know if you remember that, but could I be that happy again? And would it be okay? Yes, you can be that happy again. A lot of times now, our lives, they do influence us. The circumstances we have in our lives, they will influence us in certain directions. Absolutely. But I find more and more as I grow and as I learn and as I live and, you know, experience more things, I find that my disposition, whether it be happy or sad or angry or, you know, frustrated or whatever that disposition is largely my choice. Now, I get drawn in, especially like I was saying at the beginning. I get drawn in when things are exciting and things are happening and everything. I get like pumped and I start going, having a lot of fun and everything is just exciting. And, you know, like I get all churned up inside, right? And then it takes me a while to notice, oh, Joe, you're getting a little out of hand here. Like, let's be a little bit relatable to the world around you.
Nice.
But at the same time, when this actually happened at my last belt testing, I started to get frustrated. It was weird. It was all online. You know, we weren't in a martial arts studio. We were outside on the back porch and it was sunny and it was hot. It was, and we were like, I had to do push-ups on a wooden deck. And, you know, I'm wearing shoes because I didn't want splinters and I never do martial arts with shoes on. You know, it's weird. Like everything was weird. So I was starting to get all a little bit fussy. And then I had set the iPad, you know, to, you know, so I had set it just right so they could see my feet and my hands so they could judge my form properly and everything. And then my youngest son's like, he wanted to help so bad. He's like, Dad, I'll hold it for you. So that, you know, because he always has mom hold the iPad for him, you know, when so he wanted to come over and hold it for me and everything. And he's holding it and he's like jostling it all around and everything. And I'm just starting to get all kind of frustrated. And finally I was just like, okay, let's just put it down. I had it in the right spot. It's okay, you know. And then, you know, but that was a moment of a little bit of impatience on my part. And I look back on that and I'm like, that was me allowing my frustration to get the better of me. What mattered? Like, why did it matter? If they couldn't see my form, like every little bit of it, you know, it wouldn't have mattered. They know I'm awesome.
True that.
They know I'm going to pass, you know, whatever.
Oh, they know you're going to pass. You don't even have to take the test. It's just formalities.
They know they're going to score me 5 out of 5 on the form part. You know,
you know? Maybe even 6 out of 5 if they're feeling like making you, they're telling the truth, you know.
But that's not the point. The point is, it took me that long before I noticed the frustration welling up in there, and before I was able to make a choice. This was all just happening, and it was building inside, and I was responding automatically before I was able to notice and make a choice. So the question becomes, how quickly can you notice your emotional disposition and then make a choice in that? Because when you can notice your emotions and make a choice, you can choose to be happy as you were 2 years ago, as happy as you have been ever. You can choose that no matter what's going on. And you can choose to be angry. There are times when I do that. I get myself all pumped up sometimes, like before like a hard workout or something like that. I'll do things deliberately to make myself angry so I can have the energy to, you know, power through it. Because sometimes it's hard. And sometimes I need that little extra edge just to go through. Or like when I'm about to do board breaking, the board breaking part of our Taekwondo tests, you know, they've always said it's not your muscles that break the board. It's not, I mean, there is your technique and all that stuff. I mean, all that's important. But by the time you get to the test, you've practiced it enough to know it. Your mind is what breaks that board. And it's whether, exactly, it's hilarious. I just heard somebody laughing in the background. But it's all in your mind. Do I throw my heart over the bar? Now I got all kinds of organs involved, your mind and your heart and everything. It's all inside. It's the energy you have inside you. Are you going to mean it when you break it? And so those moments, I also try and make myself a little bit angry. I try and give myself a little bit of an edge. I try and like pump that energy in there a little bit, and pump the anger in. But I can't do that unless I realize I can make a choice. Can't do that unless I can notice my emotions and make that choice. So I hope some of that's making sense. Ryan, do you have anything else?
Yeah, probably setting sheds on fire is probably a no-no, Amira. It depends. Is it your shed? Is it allowed? Is it legal? If it's illegal, then probably don't do it. Just because we're not police officers and we don't want us to get sued. For legal reasons. No, regardless. One thing I actually did want to talk about shortly. We're coming to the end of the topic slot here, but you said, where is it? You say you feel a little bit empty at the same time you want more, and I think that, again, wanting more, this is good. To have hope, to desire more, this is good, right? You want to be happy in your life, to desire that, that's good, right? And one thing that I will say, if you feel empty, partly that's okay. Realize that in certain ways, you're always going to have that feeling. You're always going to want more because you're human. It's hard to be entirely content in that manner, to be like, I want no more than this. This is a very rare case. When you find yourself at that place, okay, Amira, if you ever find yourself feeling satisfied completely for a duration of time, that's peace. That's what peace is. Peace is that sensation of being okay with everything, knowing that you're in the right place at the right time, even if it's gone crazy, even if things are falling apart, and you're just like, yeah, but I'm okay with this. I'm not okay with what's going on around me. I'm going to fix it, but at the same time, I'm in the right place at the right time, and I'm at peace. Peace is knowing that. Is when you have faith in your life and existence. So when you ask, is it okay to like do certain things to move your life forward? You say, is it okay to we don't know exactly what it is, but okay to be happy again, okay to do the things that you want to get there. I would say, you said, okay, here it is. So it's okay if I work for the life I want. That's the word. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, is like Jay said, as long as it's legal. I'll tell you, like, when I set out to be a musician, right, for a living, I didn't get there in a year. I didn't get full support. I supported myself at that time. I had support from my brother, and things like that, but I was also supporting him. There were times where I couldn't pay the bills and he covered me. And there were times where he couldn't pay the bills and I covered him. You know what? It's funny because you hear that and that sounds like, oh, wow, you guys were in a rough spot. You know what's funny? Never crossed my mind. Never crossed my mind that was a rough spot. That was just awesome. It was sweet. It was an opportunity. It was like, man, I love my brother. My brother's awesome. It's so cool that I actually get to help him out too. Because there were days where he's like, hey, I can't pay this month. Hopefully you made enough this month. And I'm like, yeah, I did. Looks like we can cover another month. Was never felt despair. Never felt like that was a bad time. Like that was like, wow, that's so crazy. You guys went through that. Like never, wasn't crazy. It was just life and it was all good. I was happy to be where we were. It was awesome. It's kind of like Joe said, perspective is everything. You can be going through something worse than anybody else has ever experienced and be happy. Or you can go through something so like, I don't know, it doesn't even matter. Like, I just bought that milk and then it fell out of my grocery bag and it spilled out on the ground, And then some people were like, man, I had the worst day today. And it's like, you did? What happened? I lost my milk. The grocery bag broke open. They gave me that grocery bag, these terrible supermarket places, blah, 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 blah. And they get all angry. And it's like, that's it? You're okay. Well, all right. You can make the simplest thing sounds like it was the worst thing in the world. Or you can just take the whatever you got and be happy with it. One final thing I'd like to say before moving on. And Amira, I think I've seen you. You've gone on Double Cup of Joe, right? Have you seen Amira on Double Cup of Joe? I believe Amira's been on Double Cup of Joe.
I think so.
Anyways, in the mornings, Amira, I'm pretty sure I've seen you on Double Cup of Joe. But if you haven't been going, I would suggest going. Here's why. Oh, okay. Yeah, you got. Oh, yeah, that's pretty bad. Okay, so anyways, the comment with first of all, you want to move forward. You want to do the things you want to do in life, right? You want to pursue those things. I had to pursue what I wanted while I was working another job. And that's good. And that's normal. And that's fine. I got kicked out of my house for it because my mom was like, you know what? If you're going to do that and not college, and I'm recommending college, you're not going to go to college, then you can get out, right? But she loved me. She helped me find a house. And she was very loving and all of that kind of stuff, right? But regardless, my point is, if you want to shoot for something, you got to shoot for it, period. And then see where you go. And don't get upset when you don't get there in a year, because it could take 9 years. And that's fine, because you know what you find? Happiness is through the journey. You actually find yourself being happy and satisfied while you're still not satisfied with where you are. You're like, I'm not where I want to be yet. I'm not doing this full time yet. I want to do this other thing, and I'm stuck doing this other thing. But at the same time, for some reason, I'm okay. I'm happy. I'm glad I'm at where I'm at, and I'm thankful. And I'm still moving forward every single day, and I see it. Or at least every single week, and I see it. Or at least every single month, and I see it, right? Step by step. And you find yourself satisfied with yourself in that way. So if there's something you want, even if it seems too far-fetched to go out and just do it right now, you can start into it. You can work your way into it slowly over time. Figure out what you need to do. And I would just do it. But if you haven't been, go to Double Cup of Joe in the morning, because, well, the main takeaway from that is every morning they do a really great show, but every morning they do a 3-step process. One of those main things is, what are you thankful for? In your comment, you said you kind of feel empty. If you can wake up every morning and think about what you're thankful for, that will help fill that level of satisfaction of your life. It'll help fill a little bit of that emptiness, and it'll help you keep an eye out for in your life what's filling your life, what is good in your life, and it can help fill that emptiness. And then the next thing that they go through is, where do I want to go? What am I going to do today? It comes after that, but where am I going to go? Like, what am I trying to do with my life, right? And even short-term things, like what am I looking forward to today? That's what it is. What am I looking forward to? What am I looking forward to today? Or what am I looking forward to in my life? What do I want to see out of it, right? And then the third step they have is, what am I going to do today to start on that path, or to continue that path, right? That process will help in every single category that we're talking about. You talked about wanting to move forward in your life. Is it okay to be in this spot where you're content, but you also want to move forward? I think that all of that, we could summarize just the best advice we could possibly give you is do the 3-step every morning, 3-step process every morning. Mm-hmm. What am I thankful for? What am I looking forward to? And what am I going to do today? Just those 3. Think about it every morning. And if it helps, go to Double Cup of Joe and they'll help you through that, and they'll do it with you, because they like to do it right on the stream. And the chat, Tef knows this. The chat participates a lot of times. For Tef, it's coffee. But yeah,
I'm thankful for coffee, pancakes.
Looking forward to coffee. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna drink the coffee.
Yep,
pancakes. Yes, Tef. See, there we go.
Thankful for pancakes. Looking forward to pancakes. I'm gonna eat pancakes.
That's right. It's awesome. But yeah, Double Cup of Joe is awesome. So please, if you're feeling for it, that's every morning. Yeah, you're thankful for what you have, but I need my life to change. Yeah, absolutely. So anyhow, it's 38 minutes. I talked longer than I wanted to. Now it's 40 minutes. Just 2-minute jump right there. You're welcome. I can do time tricks. Moving on to the next topic. Wow, look at all those hearts.
Hi. Thank you, Amira, for the topic. That is wonderful. And yeah, Brian's right on.
Sweet.
You're amazing.
You're amazing. No, Amira, you're amazing. You shut up. You're amazing. Please keep on talking. All right. So I'm going to go on to the next topic here. I'm going to go through the list again. I think we know it's going to be Elizabeth and Little Miss coming up. But just in case, Summoner Kagan, John Doe, Man Left Behind, Eric Bodine, Caffrey, Mark Anthony, Akil, sorry, Elizabeth, and Little Miss. If any of you guys are in the chat, please drop a message in there so we can see your beautiful name. I was going to say face, but we can't see your face because you can only see ours. And we can't see yours back, which is a shame.
Elizabeth says it's good to start the day with Double Cup of Joe. You know what? That's why Joe and I do it.
I usually end the day with Double Cup of Joe, to be honest, but it's awesome.
Because we start our day doing that, and it's
that's right. You guys do.
Good for us to do it.
That is true. That is true. I can imagine. That's like when you start your day with that, and it's probably awesome. Yeah. Especially for other Joe, because being forced to wake up a lot earlier than normal.
Funny.
So
he's so funny when he first comes on. He's always
yeah. J-Ho, you got a topic? Sweet. Yeah. Whip it up. Okay.
Yep.
So we've got one from Elizabeth. It's titled Confusing Types of Love. And I'm going to go ahead and let Princess read this one off for us. So if you would do the honors.
I would. The situation is like this. I like this guy because he shares my level of faith and enjoys singing for God like I do. Wholesome Catholic things. At that point, he's someone that I want to be close friends with. But then it gets complex because as a person, he cares a lot for people's well-being and doesn't give up on them. He would even ask me for my help, which I like because it shows that he's not too proud to ask for help. He's silly but serious when needed and funny in his own way, and a long-time friend. After all this time, I feel an attraction to his personality/soul. Some days it's really strong, and some days it's just there. Problem is, after quarantine is over, he'll probably move away, and I want to know how to tell if I want to be with him as a friend or something more before it's too late. I could be happy just being his friend, but I know that I'm interested in loving him. So how the heck do I tell the difference? From Elizabeth.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for reading that, and thank you also, Elizabeth, for posting this. I really like this one. Right out the gate. My first answer would be, hey, I'm interested in loving you. Just tell him that to his face and see where it goes. Because that's a really fantastic line. Hey, I'm interested in loving you. What do you think? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, boy? Lay it on me thick. But yeah, no, this is a great topic. It's kind of cool. It's awesome to hear that okay, a lot of time, a little rant here. I'm sorry. A lot of times in the past, now we haven't gotten this in forever, but I remember when I first started doing this show with Derek, the Beta Cat, we would get questions like this from time to time. And a lot of times it was just like, hey, I like this guy. He's funny. And I really like him. And he's handsome and he's really cute and I like him. And he just makes my life, like he makes me complete. But anyways, what do I do? And it's like, so what do you like about him? I just like him. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Left eyebrow.
Yeah, it's his left eyebrow for sure. But you put out things that are actually like really wholesome and like really great things that you should be interested in. Sharing a level of faith for God, wholesome Catholic. Um, you're already close friends, relatively at least. He cares for people's well-beings. He doesn't give up on them. He's not against asking other people for help, which means he has a good understanding of his own humility. I mean, these are really good things. So I appreciate that you list what you listed as an odd note. But anyways, with that, I believe I've bought enough time for the wise man himself, Joe, the Joseph Anderson of not Anderson Town and Anderson. Anyways, he's gonna give you some great answers.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so Elizabeth, you've known him for over 6 years. If you also want to clarify, you guys have known each other. Have you guys been friends this whole time? You guys talk regularly? Do you hang out? Do you ever go hang out one-on-one? Like, like, do you ever stuff like, is there anything like that? So, because basically all I can really go on is my experience. I have never been the type of person that was like a dater, like a serial dater or whatever. I never dated any cereal. I ate cereal.
You should try dating it.
Yeah. But yeah, I was never the type of person.
You just add dates.
Yeah. Okay. First 3 years we were in the same community, which means we met up 2 or 3 times a week for church. Okay. Cool. So, I mean, probably, I'll tell you this. From my experience, what seems to it's weird because I'm the guy in all these scenarios, right? And here I am explaining this to a girl, and it's a little bit weird. I don't, because the roles could be different, but it doesn't matter because I think either person can ask another person out. I don't think that it's necessarily the guy's job to ask the girl out or vice versa. I think anybody can do that. But okay, there were 6 of us around the same age, so we bonded over that. We know each other's families and worries. Okay, cool. So you guys already, you got some history, there's a background, there's stuff like that, I mean, so probably what I would do is just see if there's a chance for you guys to spend some time together, just the two of you. Even if it's around other people, even if it's somewhere, but just to branch off and hang out and just have a conversation or two and stuff like that. That's kind of how all of any relationship that I ever was in, that's kind of how it started, and then I got to know her a little bit better. I got to know how she ticked. I got to, and that a lot of times made me more attracted, because then I was like getting to know her and I was learning more stuff about her. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And most of the time I was attracted to girls who were the opposite of me personality wise, because, we're attracted to our opposites. That's kind of how things
Opposites
go.
attract and then they attack.
Yes, exactly. Exactly right. So, oh, now you're gonna have the actual problem. Oh, he wants to go to the seminary.
Ooh. Yeah, but even if he wants to go to seminary, it's not guaranteed that he wants to be a celibate priest.
That's true. That's true. And interestingly enough, I'll tell this story, and I won't go into amazingly huge amounts of detail, but I remember when I first met Ryan and his brother Kyle, and then not long after I met Kyle's girlfriend Diana, and I got to know them, and I got to know everybody. We got really close. We started hanging out and talking and getting to know each other, right? And it turned out that Diana had been sincerely considering becoming a nun. And I was like, that's interesting. Well, I mean, obviously I'm not going to be able to make that decision for you. She just was bringing it up at one point in time. And it turned out, she prayed about it, she thought about it, all that kind of stuff, and eventually decided that that was not what she wanted to pursue. She still is very, very deeply religious, has a deep love for Christ, and a deep love for church and everything, and wonderful, wonderful wife and mother. And it's so it's interesting to me, you say he wants to go to the seminary, just like Ryan said. That doesn't necessarily mean he's pursuing celibate priesthood. He could be, just wanting to be a theologian.
He could be trying to figure it out.
Could be trying
which
to
is the
figure out.
most likely thing.
Yep. So, there's exactly, she said. And then many people I know go for help and then return. He hasn't said anything about being a priest either. So, okay, but he wants to go to seminary. I mean, that's a noble thing to do anyway. And so your job at this point is to love him. You don't have to say, I love you. You don't have to say, I want to be your spouse. You don't have to say anything like that. And when I say love him, I'm prompting Ryan to, when he comes back out and says some things, I want him to re-explain in his words what love is, because he is so good at explaining the concept of love. When we feel attraction, when we feel, oh, he kind of wants to go to a seminary in Australia. And where do you live? Or do you live in the United States? Or are you in Australia too? So that's the question.
She lives in Austria, which is not to be confused with Australia. No, I'm just kidding.
What's interesting about that you mentioned that? I went to Mass in Australia this weekend.
Online?
You know what's funny? Like it was a pontifical Mass too. It was a bishop that was presiding, and it was it was like exactly the same as the Mass in Lansing, where I normally would go. Right? I'm like, these guys, the priests that I see on
they must
in Lansing, they had like the same mind, like everything. The only difference was he spoke with an Australian accent. He's like, hey, they taught the gospel according to Mark.
Mark, yeah. No, it's not Mark.
So
it's Mark. No, not from Australia.
No, it's Mark.
That's Mark. Mark.
But it was a beautiful thing, right? So, but anyway, so that's neither here nor there. It was just interesting that you mentioned that. The cool thing is, we look at technology. You can continue a relationship and still have intimate discussions, still love someone deeply from a distance. You absolutely can do that. And these times that we live in are very conducive to being able to do that. So he could go wherever he wants, and you guys could stay in contact if it's important to both of you to stay in contact. And so so right now, okay, so here's a key indicator, what you've just said, but I could lose him and I'm not sure how I would feel. Yeah, it always hurts to lose someone we care about. It does. But we never truly lose anyone, because we can keep them in our hearts. We can keep them in our minds. In fact, today, while I was driving around doing inspections, my heart was drawn to a whole bunch of different people. When you're doing inspections, you have a lot of time to think. when you're just driving around by yourself, especially on rainy days when nobody's out, you know, like, so you don't have to deal with people. You're just going and you're just grinding through your inspections, right? You're just doing them. And so your mind wanders because it gets to be a routine and everything. And so my mind was going to friends that I haven't thought of in years, you know, old acquaintances, people that, you know, I had started to pursue relationships with and not, you know, not gone, you know, to the point of having an actual relationship, I guess. Old bandmates was one of them, old friends from high school, different people, right? And it was just going through there. And it was interesting because it was as real as when I was with them, because our minds can make things real. And those people that I used to be close to, they're still here. Even though some of them I haven't talked to in 20 years. Maybe more. And interestingly enough, as I was going through this time of thinking about people, there were times when I was deeply repentant because there were things that I did that disrupted the relationship that I felt bad about. And I never apologized to them, but I haven't talked to them in 20 years. So I was like, what can I do? You know, I can repent in my heart and I can heal, at least on my end. You know, it is very interesting to go through these exercises, right? But, you know, I don't know if any of that's any word of comfort to you in this situation. Probably not. But in your situation right now, what can you do? Love him. Not love in a possessive kind of way, but love in the true love kind of way that Ryan is so good at explaining. So I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, and we'll let him talk for a minute, and hopefully I've given him a big enough hint to talk about love a little bit because he's so good. Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah. So hate. What is hate? That's the question he was asking me. He was trying to hint at without actually saying it. No, of course not. Yeah. I mean, this is, again, it's a really interesting thing. How do you go and find your way through this whole thing? You know, Joe wants me to talk about love, so I'll do that for some moments here. I think, Elizabeth, you've been along with us for long enough to hear this before, but to love someone. Now, a lot of times, you know, Joe was kind of hinting at this. A lot of times when we say we love someone, it's because we want them in our lives. Mm-hmm. You know, but you have to realize that that love is about you. That's a desire that you have. And a desire to have someone in our lives isn't necessarily love. It is a desire. It is a desire for oneself, because a lot of times we have a feeling for someone. We have an emotional feeling for someone, like, wow, I really like being around them. I find them to be a really wonderful person. I just want to be around them because it makes me feel good. Right. And I think we have to remember that that isn't necessarily love. A loving mother must let her child go. Right. Even if she wants to keep that child nearby, eventually at some point, the mother must say, it's better for you that you leave and lead your own life. Now, depending on the culture, in Asia, they'll say it's better that you stay with us and lead your life. Either way, though, you know, get out of the house and do some work, right? Things like that. So, love ultimately, in its most refined form, you know, what is it? It is a desire for someone else's sake. Just to desire the best for somebody and to be willing to do what it takes for them to have that, to lead them down that path, to help them down that path. But yeah, love in its simplest form is to desire the best for someone. And we do that in many different forms. We have friendship, right? We have maternity or fathership. I don't know what you call that, mothership, fathership, whatever. Parenting. We have the love that you have for an animal. That is different than the love for a friend, but yet it is still the same because you're desiring the best for that animal, right? You have intimate romantic love, but romantic love, as beautiful as it is, requires, again, that you desire the best for them, or else it's only self-serving. You can go, wow, I want to be with you, and the reason I want to be with you is because I feel good when I'm around you. That's about me, not about them. But to say, I want to be with you because I want to spend my life making sure you have the best life possible. That's an entirely different thing. It's a commitment, and it's not one that spawns necessarily completely out of emotion. Is one that comes from sacrifice. You can't prove your love until you're willing to make a sacrifice, right? You can say to someone, I love you all day long, right? I love you, I love you, I love you. And then they say, hey, can you do the laundry? And you're like, no, I really don't want to do laundry. So no, I'm not going to do the laundry. It's too much work. And it's like, you can't even do the laundry for that would help me a lot. No, it's too much. Not right now. I'm watching TV. And it's like, okay, so love it's interesting. To love someone, right? It is sacrifice. It's proven by our sacrifices. It's proven when when we're willing to give something up, when we're willing to go through things we don't want to go through for the other person, for their good, right? That's when we know we love someone. That's when we can prove it. They say, Jesus on the cross, right? He dies for us because he loves us. Up until that point, you could say, well, Jesus said he loves us, but then he proves it when he dies, right? And I think that's part of what makes it beautiful. That's when he gives himself completely, right? He holds nothing back. He's completely just absolutely, actually pretty much naked on the cross. They even take his little loincloth. So he ends up naked on the cross, right? He's stripped of everything. He gives everything away, right? That's what we consider love. Love is to give yourself for another person. So if you look at the relationship that you have with this person and you're able to identify, like, yeah, of course I would want to be with them because I want that. It feels good to be around them. I like them. So of course I want to be around them. But you can also on top of that say, but I'd also be willing to serve him. I'd be willing to go however far it takes, right? That's something more. And I think that's a little bit more realistic of what love requires, right? Love requires getting over your fears. Love requires getting over yourself and putting yourself on the line for the other person, right? So if you want to know, like, hey, am I capable of loving this person? I think a good test to that is, am I capable of even asking him? Am I willing to put myself in this, into an awkward position? I really like, though, what Little Miss Fancy said. They said, it's good to ask them if they're interested in relationships first, before you ask. Because, yeah, I think that's actually a really solid way to do it. If I would take that advice. You ask them, like, because he's going to seminary, and you're like, hey, I heard you're going to seminary. And he'll be like, yeah. And you say something along the lines of, yeah, so are you interested in, like, becoming a priest? Are you interested? Have you ever been interested in, like, having a relationship with a girl or whatever, or having that kind of life and being a father, or, and seeing what his response is? I think that would help you figure out how you should go about the situation. If he says, yeah, I've been interested in girls, but, I'm not sure right now. So I'm just going off to Australia, whatever. Ask him more about it. the more you communicate with the person, the more you're going to be able to figure it out, Elizabeth. Because if you talk to us, right, we're not him. So we're not actually developing any relationship. You're not developing a relationship with him when you talk to us. So you're not figuring out exactly how you can approach this person and what you can do to make that relationship happen, or decide, okay, I'm just going to support him from the back lines and let him go. You don't know. But I think the best thing you can do is to open up that line of communication and say, hey, what are your plans for the future? Where do you want to go with your life? Did you ever, or do you want to be someone who fathers children? Like, was that part of your plan? If so, then, like, after you develop a relationship where you feel confident enough in yourself, say, if so, I would like to be the woman that mothers your children. Right? No, that'd be weird, but you could say it that way. It doesn't matter how you put it out there. It's going to be awkward no matter what. If he says no, and it's going to be thrilling to him no matter what. If he says yes, right? No matter how you ask. So that's why I think that asking in the weirdest way possible is always the best, because then it's just funny, at least. That's my take on it, anyways. But yeah, I think the best thing you can do is ask him, what are his plans in the future? What does he seek to obtain from going to Australia? And what's his role in the seminary? Is he's trying to figure out what he wants to do. And so he's just studying faith. Maybe he wants to be a scholar. Maybe he doesn't know if he wants to be a priest, or maybe he's already set. Maybe he's like, I'm going to be a priest. I know some priests that had decided not to be priests because they wanted to get married instead. They were swooned by another girl in seminary or whatever, like it happens. And so you don't know what's possible until you open up that line of communication. And I think it's important to do so, because if you don't, it'll be okay. Life will move forward, and that'll be that. But if you do open up that line of communication, you have a chance to love him deeper. Remember, it's not about you, right? And getting what you want. There's that movie in Disney, The Crab Sings, "Get the Girl," and that's totally the wrong way of looking at love. Hollywood's on so wrong on so many levels, but it's not about getting the girl. It's not about getting the guy, because really it's about a sacrifice that you make. It's about choosing, this is the person that I'm going to give it all up for. I'm going to give up sometimes you have to give up like where you wanted to take your life so that you can help improve another person's life and where they wanted to take it. And hopefully you guys can come together and both take your lives into a place where you both wanted to go. And sometimes that's part of how we figure out whether we want to be with somebody or not. But yeah, hopefully that makes enough sense to you. Again, it's a journey. No matter what happens, Elizabeth, it's going to be an awesome life. Mm-hmm. But if you feel like this is a person that you have to have a serious talk with him. And I think the deeper, the better. Have a serious talk about, I would open it up with trying to figure out where he wants to go with his life. Just ask him. I'm sure he'd love to talk about it. Like, hey, so you're going to seminary? Yeah. How come you're going there? I'm sure he'd love to tell you about it. No one just goes to seminary and they're like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really, like, maybe some people do, but most of the time, if they're going to seminary, they feel like they're being called, or they're like, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm being called. I'm not sure yet. So I'm going. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet. That's just how it goes. So yeah, the hardest thing to do is sometimes just the first step. So make the first step easy on yourself. Open with, hey, how's it going? Have a conversation about donuts. Like, seriously, make the first step easy on yourself. Have a conversation about donuts. Have a conversation about anything. Have a conversation about chocolate milk over hot chocolate. Which one's better? Which one do you like more? And then from there, be like, hey, so I heard you're going to seminary. What are you doing there? What's your plan? And then from there, you can find out, is this, is this feasible? Is this something that I want to be a part of? Um, and what's his situation? What, you know, it doesn't hurt a lot of times to put your feelings out there. It can, but most of the time it doesn't, because your feelings are your own, and people recognize that, right? And so it's like, yeah, I've had interest in you, to say that. It doesn't hurt anybody. People think like it's the end of the world if someone gets rejected when they say, hey, I have feelings for you. It's not the end of the world. It's just like, oh, okay, interesting. Well, I don't have those feelings back for you. And it's like, oh, okay, that's fine. So it ends up the same either way, whether you said it or not. Or it's yeah, I kind of was thinking the same thing. I have those feelings too, but I didn't realize that you thought that way. I thought I was the only one. That happens, and you're like, well, sweet. Now we figured something out. I'm glad I asked. So yeah, the only thing you can do is open up a line of communication and just try it from there. But yeah, anyways, Joe, you got anything else you want to add?
No, that is totally it right there. Open the line of communication, ask questions. Mm-hmm. And that's really it. Because it's an interesting spot to be in when you really want a situation to work out with another person, right? Like, it even happens to me. I'm married, and this happens between me and my wife too, right? Like, if I pursue her because I want our relationship to be better, whatever, like, naturally there's kind of this like running away, like it's kind of like the magnet that repels the other magnet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I just ask questions, be welcoming, be ask about her, ask about what's going on with her, it draws her closer. It's like turning the magnet over, and then I don't have to go. It's just like,
yeah,
right?
Let them open up to you for sure. Absolutely.
Yep. But if I pursue with intent, because my intent is good, like I want our marriage to be better always, right? Like that's always the case. I'm like, so, but if I like pursue it, it like there's the natural running away. And I'm sure you've experienced this before. I experienced it even in high school. There were girls that I really, really liked and I really wanted to like go out with or whatever, right? And then I would do something and get and try and get closer and closer to them, and it would just be like they were running away, right? And then there were girls who liked me, and the girls that were pursuing me, I was like trying to stay away from, right? It's like there's this weird thing. But when someone asks me about me, then I'm naturally drawn to them. I remember this happened with some friends of my son. He had a friend at school, right? And he went over to his friend's house, and we were going to pick him up, right? And so we're going to pick him up. I didn't really know these people yet all that much. And so we get there to go pick up my son, and they're still playing Nintendo Wii and having a good time and whatever. So we're just chatting with the parents and everything, and they just asked me questions. They asked me about what I did. They asked me about my job. They asked me if I liked my job. They asked me, is this what you plan on doing for the rest of your career? They just asked me questions. And they were genuinely interested. And you know what? They made a friend that night. They made a friend out of me because they asked about me and they were genuinely interested. So if you can take that same approach with this gentleman, ask, be interested, listen to the answers. Based on those answers, ask more questions, draw more information out of those questions. Just have that conversation like Ryan was just talking about what's going to happen is he will be drawn closer to you, and then you'll really get to see, is this something that I want to pursue? Mm-hmm. Because you'll get to know his heart. You already know some, right? But if you take that approach, that's the best place to be in, because no matter what happens, you will have that strong relationship.
Yep. Possibly for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Even if it's not love. Even if it's not like a romance or anything, right?
Exactly. So yeah, definitely take that approach. It's interesting. You might end up doing weird things. Like I remember, this friend of my son's dad, he ended up being the basketball coach at the school, and I ended up going, like, being the one and only chaperone on this basketball trip. I'd never have done that ever. But you know what? He's my friend, and he asked me. And then my wife voluntold me. But at any rate, yeah, that's what Ryan was saying. That's tremendous advice.
Yeah, it's just as Joe was saying. Like, if you want to impress them, don't. If you want to make the relationship work, if you're like, man, I really like this person, like, seriously, and dating advice just for everybody across the board, like, just period. You really like somebody, you really want to get them in. Here's what you do. It's easy. You don't try to impress them. One, you be yourself, because if you can be yourself and they like you, that's good. Mm-hmm. Don't impress anybody, because what happens when you try to impress someone, it doesn't leave them room to do anything else. It doesn't draw them out into you. Mm-hmm. The way to get good on somebody is to draw them into you, but the only way to do that is to ask. You find out who they are. You let them talk to you about who they are, and you basically, you just make them feel good. And if you make them feel good, they're going to want to be around you. And if they want to be around you, you got a foot in the door, period. All right. And that's that. I mean, just be yourself, but don't try to impress. Because like I said, if you are out there and you're playing the main character, where does that leave them? The underdog, like the sidekick?
Underdog was a main character.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, sorry. Sidekick? Yeah, I didn't mean underdog. If you're out there playing the main hero, the main character, right? Then the other person's gonna feel like the sidekick, and that doesn't make them go like, yeah, I'm really attracted to this person. So it's way better to spend your time investing in them by allowing them to talk, investing time, which is patience a lot of times. But anyhow, with that, I'm gonna move on to the next topic.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
So we can get
that was wonderful.
To Little Miss. Yes, thank you so much for the question, and I hope that helps a lot. But yeah, just keep the communication open. But yeah, like I said, keep it simple. Open up with, "Hey, how's it going? Chocolate milk or hot coffee or hot cocoa? What's better?" And then wherever that conversation goes, like, seriously, anything doesn't matter. Okay, I meant hot cocoa versus chocolate milk. And then whatever is the fun thing you want to talk about, and then go from there. Start asking questions about him. But anyways, good luck, Elizabeth. You got this. Moving on. So I see that we have Little Miss here, who's presented a topic to us on the live stream. So thank you so much, Little Miss. I appreciate this.
Yes, thank you.
Here's if anybody wants to read along, here's the link presented by Princess. Mm-hmm. This topic is titled "How to Be a Better Older Sister." That's a great question. I'm going to let Princess do the honors.
Hey, this topic is kind of rushed, but it's been bothering me for months, so here it is. A couple months ago, I went to pick up my little sister from school. I found my mom in the office talking to the principal, and she told me my younger sister had been acting weirdly. Apparently, she had been telling her friends about suicidal thoughts she was having, and weird drawings of dead people in her sketchbook. On top of that, she'd been talking to us less. Her grades had been going down, and she hardly ever smiled. The principal was the one that called my mom over, and my sister didn't know, so we had to pretend we just came together to pick her up. I remember when I walked out of the office, my mom was on the verge of tears, and in the car, I carried the conversation so my sister wouldn't pay too much attention to my mom. After we got home, my sister went to take a bath, and that's when I broke down a bit. I remember panicking and writing a topic for it, but then only to delete it after because I realized I shouldn't freak out about it until we got confirmation from a doctor, which we did later. She has depression. I guess my question is, how do I take care of my little sister? I've been trying to help her get her grades up and getting her to clean her room, but I end up doing them instead. I've also tried to get her into more healthy habits, but she keeps avoiding them. I feel like I'm doing everything for her now, and I don't know how to help her mentally and physically. My grandma also has depression, but it's not like I'm not used to treating people. It's just I want her to get better, but I don't know what I can do. From Little Miss.
Thank you, Little Miss.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate that you share this up with us. This is actually, it's a really good topic. I have an older brother, so I can relate in some ways, from the opposite end. And hopefully that I can kind of think of some scenarios and stuff like that happened in my life that, in ways that he's helped me a lot through my life, even though, he's not a perfect human being, nor neither am I. And it's a little bit different because, I don't think he ever knew or noticed or cared if I was depressed. But we can talk about it a little bit. I think it's just amazing that you asked this, because it really shows us a lot about your heart and who you are, and the fact that you really want to just help out your little sister. I can tell that you care a lot, and it's stressful not being able to just solve it. And now you end up doing a bunch of stuff, and it's not solving it, and it's just a bunch of, yeah. So I think there's a lot we can talk about here, but depression is no easy thing, and sometimes depression is even harder when it's somebody that's not you.
Right.
I think that a lot of people don't realize that, not because, well, depression, a lot of times you're focused really heavily on yourself. It's just the nature of it. And so you don't, and while you do care about the people around you and you don't want them to suffer, it can cause a lot of stress for them. And it can be really stressful trying to figure out, how do I help this person? What do I do? Nothing I'm doing is working. Why are they depressed? Why don't they talk to me? All this kind of stuff. It can be nerve-wracking, and hopefully we can give you a little bit of guidance, a little bit of clarity, and help you feel a little bit more at peace and calm, and then get figured out to the best of our ability. But anyways, with that, I'm gonna have Joe take it off.
Well, yeah, there's definitely some stuff I can say here. I can remember from my perspective going through depression and having a brother that noticed that I was depressed. I mean, everybody knew because I was clinically, diagnosed. I was in therapy. I'd had a nervous breakdown. I'd dropped out of college. There's all kinds of stuff going on. It was crazy, right? And so everybody kind of knew what was going on. So, and I had a brother who was around, and my older brother, and he's awesome. Like, I mean, Ryan's met him. He's just
I love Joe's brother.
You think I'm a ball of energy.
Joe's brother is awesome.
You take my ball of energy and multiply it by like 5 zillion.
I think you just take your ball of energy, compact that, and make that a human being. You're just like, that's just the human being. It's just this part.
Yes. But he is so he's so he's positive. He's absolutely positive all the time. Absolutely. And even when he was in the midst of one of the most difficult I mean, he was married and he ended up getting divorced, and well, actually got annulment and everything, because there's all kinds of craziness involved with that whole situation. But it was a hard time for him, super duper stressful and terrible for him. And even during all that, he still maintained a level of positivity. He still maintained a level of contentment and positivity through it all, right? He still cares for his ex, and and every all that stuff, but obviously not. They don't communicate. Like, there's no whatever, but he still has caring for everybody. Even in preschool, he was called what did they say about him in preschool? They said he was an aggressive peacemaker.
Nice.
Like, when there was a conflict going on, he would aggressively try to get them to make peace with each other.
That's amazing. I can imagine that actually very clearly.
Yep. So, like, that was his role that he played, right? So what's this all have to do with anything? I can just tell you from the perspective of the person who's depressed, what was effective for my brother to be during that time, right? And maybe this can give you a little bit of insight. Now, everything I'm going to say, keep in mind, healing in this case can be greatly helped by the Holy Spirit. And so I would say, undergird everything that you do with lots and lots of prayer. Lots and lots and lots of prayer. Okay. And I only say that because I know that you're a religious person. And so, like, I know that you're a praying person. So on all of this, undergird with prayer. But like Ryan was saying, a depressed person isn't really, I mean, they're deep within themselves. They're deeply self-focused as well. Like, they've turned
They're
inward.
trapped a lot of times.
Exactly.
And they don't want to be.
Right.
It's not their fault.
Right. Exactly. But they're trapped in this turned inward type of mentality, right? So there's going to be weird things. Like, they might lash out. There might be moments of extreme emotion. There might be moments of lethargic, like, totally, like, no emotion, right? And the key for you as a sister, as a sibling, I would say, because I only experience this from my brother, is to be there, but not be swayed or shocked or show any type of, like, not react to the emotion of the moment. If that makes sense, right? To be there and be solid. Because when I was depressed, I felt so unstable. And when I could look at my brother, if he was being stable, if he was rock solid, even if I didn't acknowledge it at the time, even if I didn't tell him at the time, didn't say anything, deep down inside of me, it was helpful because I had something out there that I could count on. Inside me, everything was falling apart and going crazy, right? But if I could look at my brother and he was stable and he had a positive outlook and he was rock solid and not moving from that outlook, he wasn't being oppressive about it. He wasn't trying to get me to be that way. He wasn't trying to convince me that it was the best, but he was just solid. He wasn't, he cared about me and he cared about what was going on, but he didn't get involved in it, I guess. If that makes sense. He was solidly positive. And the temptation for us is to get into it with somebody who's like that. But in your specific relationship, probably not. Obviously, everybody's sibling relationships are different. You know, I'm just telling you from my experience. What I needed from my brother was not for him to get down in there and be all upset and stuff with me. I needed to see that there was normalcy possible. I needed to see that it was possible to be okay. Now, and like I said, he never judged me. He never told me I was wrong for being that way. He just cared, and he was himself. Right? Another thing, I see one thing that you said in here. You're trying to help, and you're doing all these great things. You're trying to help keep grades up, keep a room clean, stuff like that. That's very wonderful and noble. I would recommend not doing that. At least try not doing that. Because, I mean, I guess it depends on the person a little bit. But if coming from the perspective of the depressed person again, right? If I'm the depressed person, which I was, and I knew this completely, right? When I had other people doing things for me, it felt good, but at the same time, it kind of subconsciously made me feel like, well, I can't do it anyway. I can't do it. They got to do it for me. I can't do it. And what that does is that lends itself to a deeper depression, because then you start to feel more useless, because it's like, I can't do this on my own, you know, you start to, you know, go, and that leads to another dimension of depression, which, you know, the feeling of uselessness, the feeling of inadequacy, it kind of can feed into the whole condition. So maybe allow things to go undone. At least a little bit. Now, sometimes you can step in and encourage and stuff like that, you know, and it's tough, because I know, like, sometimes you never know what emotion you're going to get. But most importantly, you know, some of it's going to be experimenting, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. And it's not always going to be obvious, because they might just be non-responsive, when deep down inside, like for me, I was non-responsive to a lot of things my brother did. But looking back on those were moments that I latched onto inside my mind. And they were so powerful and so effective. I never said anything about it. I never even reacted or responded at all. But it gave me the sense that I could be better, that this was something that could pass, and that I could not have to struggle with this at some point, because here was another person not struggling with it. So it's possible. And you learn that, you know, at least for me, when I was depressed, having those rock solid things that I could latch onto, they were like anchors for me, that I could just, okay, I can count on this. I can count on my brother being crazy and quirky and weird and fun and positive and everything. And, you know, dang it, it's annoying because I'm trying to be depressed. You know?
I can't relate to that, but I know exactly what you mean.
Okay. I see you've got a whole bunch of stuff. Little Miss says, I've been teaching my sister to pray the rosary. We've been doing it every night. So I've been praying a bunch more. That's awesome. She's been skipping assignments and just stopped doing any homework altogether. Okay, that's fine. I've been trying to help her actually do it, but I find myself staying up until 1 a.m. finishing it for her because it's due that day. Okay, so I understand your heart is in totally the right place. The question I would ask, what happens if she doesn't do it? She might get a bad grade. Okay, don't want her grades to go down. They're seriously low. Okay, what if she gets low grades? What if she ends up having to repeat a grade? I know lots of people who have had to repeat grades. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Basically, grades are not the end of the world. It seems like it. Teachers will make you think that it is, but it's not.
Take it from some adults that know better. She's a lot more important than her grade.
Yes.
If her mind is not in the right place, school can wait. Seriously.
Absolutely.
She's more important than school.
Yep. So it's okay. It's okay. So I understand where your heart is, and I think it's wonderful. I'm so glad. But yeah, like that, make sure that you're looking for the healing of her, and you and her praying the rosary together. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Look up patron saints, patron saints of depression, patron saints of, stuff like that. I mean, like these are saints that you can get involved and pray for you as well. But anyway, I've spoken way too long. Ryan, you're gonna have to take this from me.
All good. Go. Thank you, man. I'm so glad you went first. I tell you, Joe's story stood out to me with one thing that's super important, and I'm glad he didn't say it, because then I wouldn't have anything to say.
Oh, good. I'm glad for you, Ryan.
Yeah. So thank you. There is one thing that you can do. Okay, so first of all, I'm right on board with it. Joe is saying you're doing too much for her. You have the best heart. Your heart is so huge. And Little Miss Fancy, thank you so much for trying so hard. That does not go unrewarded. You are an incredible person. All right.
Absolutely.
But don't do her stuff for her. I'm going to tell you one thing that will snuff out her depression. And you think like depression is different for everybody, and that's true. And there isn't one cure-all, and that's true. But the one thing you can do that'll help snuff it out the fastest is this: respect. Does she know that you respect her? And does she believe that you respect her? Because right now she's in a position where she doesn't believe in herself. She doesn't think she can get out. She doesn't trust herself. She's stuck in a place. She's trapped, and she's the only way to get out, but she doesn't believe in herself to do it. A lot of times that's what depression is. You want to know how to kick me out of it? Now, my brother never knew I was depressed. No one did. For any amount of times that I'd ever been depressed, no one ever really knew. Except for my mom picked up on it, and she's like, what's going on? But it was usually just like something crazy just went down. And she's like, wow, that sounds crazy. I'd be depressed too. But it usually didn't happen. Usually it was like, whatever. I was good at hiding things. But regardless, one thing, if my brother respected me, I knew I could believe in myself. That was it. If he could just show me any point in time, like, wow, you're smart. Wow, you know what to do in this instance. If he can take me aside and be like, I'm going to like, if he showed me any amount of respect, it immediately started beating at my depression and telling me, you can get over this. This doesn't need to be here. You're better than this. You can get it out. You know right from wrong. Just do it. If you can teach her that you respect her, do it in the way that you speak to her. Pull her aside and be like, yo, I'm telling you this because I respect you and I know that you can handle it. So, blah, 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 blah. Or, hey, I'm kind of struggling a little bit myself. I'm having to do all this stuff, and I know there's one person I can count on in this house. It's you. So could you help me do this? Say that to her. So I know if there's one person I can count on in this house right now to help me out with this thing, it's you. Let her feel important. Let her know that you respect her. Because if she can feel respected, like I said, she's on her way to climbing out. A lot of times people who are depressed, they get in their heads that they're so negative to themselves where they've lost all respect for themselves. And with that, they can do nothing because they don't believe in themselves anymore. They don't have hope. Everything is just despair. So in order to re-spark that hope, to get her to believe in herself, you have to be the person that shows her she can do it. And all you have to do is say a few words. Or, you know what? Might not be our love languages, or might have to do with love language. So you might have to show her physically. But either way, it's crucial that you don't do things for her. Because the more you do things for her, the less respect she has for herself, the less chance she has to respect herself. Every time you do something for her, she's going to look at herself and be like, yeah, I'm pitiful. My sister did my homework for me. I'm that pitiful. I can't even finish my assignment. It'd be better for her to fail the assignment than to think she can't do it. It'd be better for her self-esteem to fail the assignment and be terrified of turning it in and being like, yeah, I'm a failure, than to be, yeah, I'm a failure and the only reason I'm passing is because my sister did this. My sister's so cool. My sister's so much better than me. She can finish my homework. I can't even finish my own homework. It's my homework. You see what I'm saying, little miss? Like, you are such a wonderful person for doing that. But if you don't give her a chance to respect herself, she's going to take every single opportunity to tear herself apart. Anything that you do that's good for her, she's going to take it as, that's not something I can do for myself. And the only reason, like, she's just going to, any way she can pick at herself to make herself look bad, she's going to take it because she's depressed. That's what we do when we're depressed. If there's any opportunity out there where I can take it and make myself look bad, I'm going to do it. And it's dumb. So don't give her that opportunity. Let her work. Let her work hard. If she doesn't work hard, then she doesn't receive a reward. Period. Okay? It's just how it is. Let her be responsible for herself so that when she does something, she can feel like she did something. She can feel like she earned it. Like she has a reason to respect herself. So that's really all I have to say. I know it was really short, but I can tell you it's the same for me. My brother was like what Joe said. He was as solid as a rock, and I knew I could trust that. He was a smart guy. He always knew all the answers. He
still does.
Yeah, he's bright. And even if he was terrible at human relationships, not really, he wasn't that bad. And he wears people. He wasn't perfect, let's just say that, but it didn't matter because any of those moments where he acted like I was his, like he could lean on me. Whenever he acted like he could lean on me, I felt like mad good about myself. If he ever asked my opinion about something, like hey, like even if it was playing a game or whatever, he's like, yo, dude, what do you think about this? That made me feel good. Why? Because even though I didn't respect myself, I respected him. You know, my mom always respected me too. And it's the same thing there. If she respected me, that helps me believe that I can respect myself. So, yeah, I think that's one of the gateways out of depression is just to understand, hey, you got this.
Mhm.
But a lot of times we've suffocated ourselves so much where we don't believe it. But if someone that we respect, that we look up to, shows us that they look up to us, that they believe in us, that they can real talk with us, like, hey, real talk, you know, like just honest and friendly and good and wholesome and just like trusting, like, hey, here's the issue. What do you think? How should I solve it? Ask your sister for help on things. Ask your sister to not help herself. Don't ask your sister to help herself. She's not going to. She doesn't want to. Ask your sister to help you. And start with the little things that she can just say. You don't have to start with things like, hey, can you do this, the dishes? Hey, can you do the laundry? That's a physical thing. Start even simpler. Say, hey, make her use her mind. Just say, hey, I got this problem. What do you think I should do? Or, hey, I need to do this. What do you think mom would like better? This kind of food or this kind of food? You know, you would know, you know better than I do, right? Things like that. Just ask whatever you can that makes her realize that to you, she's important and respectable. Mm-hmm. And that you look up to her in whatever ways you do. Tell her about those things. And if you don't know what those are, think about them right now. Figure those out. And then just come out with them. And that's all I got. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
I love what Ryan was just getting at. I wanted to add this one little thing. Think to yourself, you don't have to put it in the chat, but you can if you want. But what things would you consider her to be an expert in? There's something she's good at. There's something that she's always been good at. There's something that she's naturally had a tendency for. There's something, or maybe that she's worked for and she's built a skill up. What could she be? Oh, she's better at cooking than you. Okay. So that's
one thing
good.
Real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you said instead of making her feel like she's my little sister, make her feel like an equal. I think it's a good route.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the ways to do that is to acknowledge that somebody's better than you at something else, and you can ask for their advice, you can ask for their knowledge, you can ask them questions about something that they know more than you. I remember it was very, very interesting. I remember this experience. I was for I don't know, a handful of years, I was a band instrument repair technician, right? So I would work on trumpets, trombones, tubas, anything that started with T, apparently. All the woodwind instruments and everything too, right? That was my job. I repaired them, and I was in a shop with this very well experienced guy, right? He had been doing this for years and years and years, 30 plus years. So he was good. He was very good, and he knew his stuff, and he knew very, very well. One of the things that was so demoralizing when I worked with this guy was he would finish my instruments for me. Like I would work on a saxophone or something like that. I wasn't very good at woodwinds. I wasn't good at clarinets or saxophones, or especially flutes. Those were super hard. But, I wasn't all that great at these instruments, right? And so I would fix it the best I could, and then I would hand it to him. He would test it, and he'd be like, oh, yep, this is not right. This is not right. This is not right. This, and this, and over here, and this, and that. And
hold on. Yeah, I knew something was off, and this and that.
Yeah, exactly. And then he would say, but this is what he would do then. He would say, okay, so all those things need to be done better. But tell you what, for the sake of time, I'm going to do it for you. And even though, yes, we were on a time constraints, we had a whole bunch of instruments we had to get out and back to the schools and everything. School band programs were like the big thing, right? We were getting just swamped with broken instruments all the time. So anyway, so he would finish my work for me, and it was so demoralizing because it made me feel just like what we were talking about before. It made me feel like I wasn't adequate, like I wasn't good enough, you know. But one thing that I knew how to do was trombone slides. This guy, he's a trombone player. Like that was his main instrument. I'm a percussionist, right? And he played the trombone, and he was really good at flutes and saxophones and clarinets and fixing all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that I really, really developed a knack for was the trombone slide, getting them just perfect. And those, I mean, you've got 4 really long tubes that have to be perfectly straight, perfectly aligned. They have to move, like you have to drop it, and it has to be like nothing.
Yeah, no friction at all.
And that's with no grease or slide cream or anything. That's dry. No lubricant at all. And it has to be perfect. And I had just had a knack for doing that. I don't know how, I had a knack for seeing, the angles and seeing, oh, there's a little bit of a dent there. I need to get rid of that. Like all these little intricate things that make up a trombone slide. And I remember, like, that's one thing I would, if he, with all this demoralizing stuff that was going on, he'd take my flutes and my clarinets and my saxophones and he'd finish them for me. And that was so frustrating. But one thing that made me feel so good was when he would ask me about a trombone slide issue. Because he recognized, even with his experience, that I got better results in that one area of instrument repair than he did. And so when he asked me for my advice, or he asked me for, a little bit of my knowledge, like, how do you do this? Like, how I noticed you use different tools than I use. What tools do you use for this? Different things about the details of how I do things. Anytime he would do that, man, I felt like $1,000,000. Now, I didn't always show it. I didn't always be like, oh my gosh, thanks for asking. That's so amazing, blah, 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 blah. A lot of times it's just like, well, I did this and whatever. So you might get, especially when someone's depressed, that you might not get the super flowery response. But inside is what's important. They're going to feel special. Mm-hmm. They're going to feel important. They're going to feel wanted. They're going to feel like they have some value because you're asking them about something they're good at. And if they're good at something, then probably they've taken the time to get good at it. And that's something that they respect in themselves. Maybe they've just forgotten that that's something they respect about themselves. And they need just that little bit of a reminder. And that can come in the way of just asking about, how did you get to the point where you can do that? She's better at playing instruments than you. She plays piano, violin, clarinet, ukulele. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? You have a very creative person on your hand, very musically talented. It does not surprise me that she's depressed. Doesn't surprise me one bit. Someone who's an extremely talented musician like that, a lot of times they struggle with depression just because our minds are detailed and finicky and picky, and it's easy to go down that path. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so anyway, but just if you can ask some questions about something she's good at. Like I said, it might not be like a huge, amazing response. There might, whatever. it might not be like this big, huge epiphany moment.
Right. You might even ask her to do something like, hey, I really like that song that you play, because you're so good at music. I just wanted to hear you play that. And she might say no. And, I don't really want to.
Mm-hmm.
And then you walk away, you go, victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why? Because you told her something that you respected about her. And that stays. She's going to say, no, I don't want to do that. But inside, she's like, yeah, cool. That was nice of them. I don't want to do it because I don't want to be embarrassed, or I don't want to go out of my way. I just don't feel like doing it right now. But they feel inside like, yeah, that was kind of nice that they said that they liked my song.
Yep. You got to think of yourself as being in seed planting mode. You are not in harvesting mode right now. This is not time for harvesting. You're not going to be harvesting the grand, oh, I'm all better now. Like, that's not what mode you're in right now. Right now, you're planting the seeds, and that's how you do it. You find the things that can make them feel important, make them feel good about themselves. Don't worry about the response that you get. You might not get any.
Right.
You're still planting the seed. That seed still got in there. Okay. And then water it with lots and lots of prayer.
Yes, absolutely. I think Joe's opening statement, pray a lot. And I think that is important. One last thing, just before I close this down. You said she's good at video games. Is she good because of hand-eye coordination, or is she good because of strategy? Figure out why. Sometimes you can go deeper into things. Why is she good at this? Because that leads you into other things. Because if you notice, oh, she's actually, the thing she's really good at is strategizing or timing or whatever, then you can ask her opinion on those matters when they're not even video game related. Like, hey, you're always really good at coming up with a strategy for how to do this in the video game. So I figured maybe you could help me out here. I'm looking to do this sort of thing. Can you help me strategize? What do you think I should do? Go this route or that route? Seriously, that does huge yeah, it is just awesome. But you have a big heart for trying to do all this. I think this is so awesome, Little Miss. So I think you'll pull it off really well. Again, try to refrain from being the one that helps her do everything, because you don't want to finish her stuff. You want to let her finish what she finishes, or doesn't finish, and that's fine. Because otherwise you end up being her crutch, and you end up being the one keeping her down, and you don't want that. It's up to her to fix what she's going through, but you can help a lot just by letting her know that you respect her, and then by, like Joe said, being a solid rock she can lean on when she needs, or something that's showing her like, you know what, this world is okay. There are people out there who are smiling that are close to me, and so there must be something in this world that is good. So live by example. Don't critique people. Don't tell people how they need to be living their lives. All of that is down the wrong path. Just live the life, be an example that you want other people to be. And that's really how you get people moving. So,
and understand, if she has a bad year, if she has bad grades one year, if she has a bad semester, that's not the end of the world. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's it's not going to wreck somebody's life to have a bad year and to have bad grades for a little while. In fact, some of the most successful people did not do well in school. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of really famous, successful, brilliant, absolutely like Nobel Peace Prize winners that failed a year or several of school, or got kicked out of college, had to take a couple of years, never graduated high school. Like, you got people from all walks of life in education being called geniuses. So it's okay.
Your sister obviously has a very powerful mind. It's working against her right now. And
yep,
clearly it's powerful. So just because the school grades will reflect what they reflect, that's not going to say anything about who she is as a person or what she's capable of. So, Little Miss Fancy, you are outstanding. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we love you so much. Thanks for being
for
here.
Caring. Thank you so much for what you're doing for your sister. Man, that's amazing. So you're awesome. And if you have any other questions as you go along, if there's any updates or anything like that, you run into a rough spot, you run into a roadblock, whatever, feel free, check in with us. We would love to. And if you find something that we said that doesn't work and you need to correct us and tell us we were wrong, do that too. Our egos are in the right place. At least Ryan's is.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, if we're wrong, just let us know, because the more we know that we can help other people with, the better. Like we said, we're not professional psychologists. All we can do is give you our best and what helped us. So hopefully it helps you.
Yeah.
But with that, sounds like a closing statement to me. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for all of the topics, guys. We appreciate that you guys coming up with them on the fly for us. We love you guys. We enjoy being with you guys. We do this for you because we want to be around you. You guys are so cool. And we appreciate you all. I read the chat. I don't respond to all of you, but I am reading it. You guys are sometimes really funny, sometimes really wise. So it's just great watching. But anyways,
and come back in the morning.
Yeah, come back in the morning to catch a double cup of Joe.
7.5 short hours from now.
There you go.
7.5 hours. Full work to do. I'm still not done working yet.
If you're in the right time zone, you won't even need to sleep.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Double cup of schmo.
That's right. And we'll come back on Wednesday, and we will see you there.
Yeah, it'll be Don't Worry Wednesday.
That's right. Bye, guys.
Love you guys.
Yeah. Peace.